cortex. Okay? Have y'all learned about gray matter yet?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So gray matter is where you have neuron cell bodies. Can we see that on there? No, you can't, but you know that everywhere that it is wrinkled, do we have cerebral cortex?
Yes.
Yes. So you have cerebral cortex on these medial surfaces here, and then you have cerebral cortex on the outside too. So everywhere that it's wrinkled, you have a layer of gray matter, and it's called the cerebral cortex. Sorry. So that's the feature of the cerebrum you need to know, that there is a layer of gray matter. Okay. Now, deep to that, we have white matter, don't we? Okay. What is white matter by definition? If gray matter was the cell bodies, what is the white matter? It's the axons. White matter is bundles of axons. Why is it white? Bless you. It's myelinated, yes. It's covered with myelin. Okay? So, deep to this, we have white matter. And I told you here, white matter is bundles of axons that are covered with myelin. Now, if these bundles of axons, this white matter is within the brain and the spinal cord, we call those bundles tracts. Does that make sense? These bundles of axons that make up the white matter in the brain and the spinal cord, we call them tracts. But these bundles of axons that are in the peripheral nervous system, we call them nerves. Can they be the same axons? Yes, they can. If you look at this vertebral column model, everybody can know that the spinal cord is going down the middle of this, right? Okay, we've got spinal nerves coming out. Okay, well the white matter, the axons in the spinal cord are called tracts. But as those same axons become part of spinal nerves that are leaving, they become nerves. So you can have the same axons in two locations, but they're named for their location. In the central nervous system, they're tracts. Any axons that you have in the peripheral nervous system are called nerves. But they can be going into the spinal cord from the exterior, right? So as long as they're exterior, they're nerves. Once they get into the central nervous system, the same axons become tracts. All right. All right. Now, let's look at this cerebellum right here. This is called the little brain, and it actually has probably as many neurons, if not more, than our cerebrum. So, it does have gray matter, and it does have white matter. Now, the white matter looks like a branching tree, doesn't it? This is called the arbor vitae. Arbor vitae, which translates tree of life, is what it means.
The white part?
Yes, it is white matter. You can tell that it's white matter, can't you? Okay, so that's your arbor vitae. And the cerebellum basically works kind of as a supervisor for what the cerebrum does. It kind of overlooks and monitors the impulses that are sent from the cerebrum to different targets. And if it's not interpreted correctly, the cerebellum can correct it. It can go back and correct any misinterpreted or misdelivered messages that were sent by the cerebrum. Does that make sense? So it's constantly monitoring what this is doing. And a lot of times it has to correct or tweak motor signals, if you know what I'm saying. Okay. Now, right here in the middle of this hemisphere, this is not wrinkled here. This is a dense area of white matter, and it's in a C shape, isn't it? Okay. This is a structure that's holding the two hemispheres together. This is called the Corpus Callosum. So that is a C-shaped area of white matter, and basically that consists of tracts of axons that are crossing in that area. and it's allowing the two hemispheres to communicate with each other. Make sense? So that's white matter. It's crossing axons. It's tracks that are crossing in that area. This connects those two hemispheres together and they can communicate with each other. All right. Directly beneath the corpus callosum, we have a dark pink area right in here. This is right in the center, isn't it? Now, this is also going to be holding the two hemispheres together because we really and truly have, parts of it have two areas, one in each hemisphere. This whole thing, this whole dark pink thing is called the Diencephalon. The Diencephalon is all of that dark pink, right in the center. Okay, by definition, the Diencephalon is all of those structures that have thalamus in their name, and there's more than two. We're going to talk about two. There are at least 3 or 4, okay? But we're going to talk about 2 of these areas. One is simply the thalamus. If you'll put a little oval circle right here in that center, do you see where that oval structure is with the white dot in the middle of it? Kind of do a circle around that or an oval around that. That is your thalamus. And this is an important structure. This is right in the center of the brain, and it basically serves as the relay station for all of the signals that are incoming and outgoing. Does that make sense? This is the structure that if we've got a lot of info coming towards the brain, it goes through the thalamus and it directs it where it needs to go. Because we have different areas in the brain that are responsible for different functions, right? And then when the brain responds and sends signals down, it directs it to the appropriate tracks. So it's the big grand central station, relay station. All right? Now, the thalamus I think of as being kind of like a yo-yo that's got 2 parts. You know, there's a yoke that's got a right and a left part, and it's held together by that little spindle. All right, so you've got one on each side. And there really is a space kind of between them that we will talk about soon, okay? So it's like this. Now, right beneath this, you have an area, this little wedge-shaped area here. This is kind of inferior and slightly anterior. This is called your hypothalamus. What does hypo mean? Below the thalamus, and it is. Now, this is a really important endocrine structure. Hypothalamus. It is an endocrine structure that will be producing and secreting hormones. It's this little wedge-shaped area right here, right below the thalamus. Okay? It's endocrine. So it's going to be autonomically regulated. Does everybody understand what autonomically means? Your autonomic nervous system regulates this. It's involuntary. You got sensors all over your body that are monitoring every function, and most of those are handled by the autonomic system.
So your autonomic is your parasympathetic, sympathetic, and enteric. Is that, am I right?
Anything that's autonomic is involuntary. Okay. Sympathetic and parasympathetic means fight or flight, I think, right? Okay, so it's part of that.
Okay.
All right? We haven't talked about sympathetic and parasympathetic yet, but everybody in here should know what autonomic means. It's involuntary. It's automatically regulated. It's automatically monitored and regulated. That's like your blood glucose, your oxygen. Everything is regulated, and you don't have to think about it. All right. Now, I want you to add a little drawing here. Right beneath this, draw a little stalk that's hanging down right here, and then put a little oval-shaped structure right there. And that is your pituitary gland. So your pituitary gland is hanging off of your hypothalamus. Is that endocrine as well?
Yes.
Yes, it is. And I don't know, but on this particular model, I can't see a pituitary. But on this one, I sure can, can't I? You see the pituitary? So everybody needs, I need to pass this around so everybody knows where the pituitary is. It's hanging down right under, yes, on that little model it does have a tiny one. I'm going to pass this one around so you can see where to draw the pituitary. Now this is also endocrine.
Or on the other side.
Well, it's just showing it attached to one side. Okay,
That's it.
so it is endocrine. It's also going to be producing and releasing hormones. And we're going to see this on our sheep brain, so I want you to know where it is. Okay? It's a structure that you have to identify on the sheep brain. Now, we're going to do the same, we're going to identify the same things that we see on the human brain on the sheep brain. Now, the sheep brain is going to look a little different because our spinal cord goes straight up and down, right?
Yeah.
Theirs goes this way, right? So the brainstem is going to look different. Okay. All right. So we got the diencephalon. To me, that means two parts inside the brain. Did I tell you that the thalamus had two parts? Okay, so just remember. All right, all we have left here now is this region right here. Does that look white to you? It is primarily white matter. Okay? This entire structure here is what's going to connect the brain to the spinal cord. And this is called the brain stem. The brain stem has three regions. The most superior region, right up in here, is called the midbrain. Midbrain. And then right in front of the cerebellum, we have this oval-shaped structure right here. That's called the pons.
Where?
An oval-shaped structure right in here. That's the pons. And then from here down is your medulla oblongata.
From where down? Oh, from the bottom of that curve
From
down?
the pons, let's just say this region right here below the pons is your medulla oblongata.
We're gonna have to look at them.
Are we okay? Do we have the midbrain? Do we have the pons? And we have the medulla oblongata. Typically, you're going to hear medulla, the medulla.
Got it.
Okay? And all of this is white matter, but this is a really important region in that it regulates many autonomic functions. Okay? Now, is all of this covered by bone? It's covered by the skull, isn't it? It's covered by the skull. Now, this is the base of the skull right here. And what is the big opening in the base of the skull?
Obturator.
Foramen magnum. Okay, foramen magnum. So, at the foramen magnum, what is this connected to down here?
Your spine.
Your spinal cord. But are they continuous? They're not two separate parts, are they? It's continuous. It's just that everything that's above the foramen magnum right here is called the medulla oblongata. And then down below that is the spinal cord. Okay? It's all the same material. It's continuous. Your brain and your spinal cord are continuous. It's continuous. But above the foramen magnum, that portion is the medulla oblongata. Below the foramen magnum, that's your spinal cord. Okay? Did we get everything?
We did.
We did. Okay.